Oh Jung-song, the son of a general, a soldier nearly killed while escaping from the DPRK, the first interview. A North Korean soldier who made a dramatic escape across the border a year ago gave the first interview. In the material of the Japanese newspaper Sankei Shimbun, his name is given as Oh Jung-song, 25 years old, although it is reported that in South Korea he changed his name and uses a different date of birth. The newspaper does not publish his face, but notes that the identity of the soldier is confirmed by representatives of the Japanese Secret Services. Oh Jung-song denied reports the South Korean press that he had been wanted in the DPRK for the murder. He described the circumstances of the escape. He had some difficulties with friends, he got drunk, and on the way back to the unit did not stop at the checkpoint, after which, fearing punishment, he decided to run away. I was afraid that they might execute me if I returned, so I crossed the border, O said, adding that he did not regret the escape. The man was seriously injured. According to CNN, he lost a huge amount of blood. He was hardly managed to be taken to the hospital where he underwent surgery. About was discharged from the hospital only in February. It is still continuing treatment. At the same time, Oh Jung-song says that the border guards who shot him were his comrades, and he understands why they opened fire on him. If they did not, they would be severely punished. If I were in their place, I would do the same. Carlos Ghosn, a team of operatives working to help Carlos Ghosn escape from Japan, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars scoping out airports and their other entry points in Indonesia, the Philippines, South Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand before his flight last week, a person with knowledge of the matter said. The goal was to find security flaws that would allow Mr. Ghosn to evade the authorities, this person said. Ultimately, the planning team flew him from Japan to Turkey and then on to Lebanon. Mr. Ghosn has a home in Beirut and faces no extradition to Japan. He is also a citizen of France, where he has spent most of his adult life. The preparation for his escape, remarkable in its scope, was conducted under a veil of secrecy. Even some of the project's operatives did not know the client's identity or when the escape would take place, said the person, who spoke on the condition of anonymity because of the legal sensitivity of the issue. Mr. Ghosn, the former head of the Nissan-Renault-Mitsubishi Alliance, is facing charges of financial misconduct in Japan and was free on bail. He left his home in central Tokyo on December 29th in an escape that the authorities are piecing together, fleeing what he called a rigged Japanese justice system. The three then went to the Shinagawa Railroad Station, a major hub, and a little after 4:30 p.m. boarded a Shinkansen, or high-speed bullet train, for Osaka, about 340 miles southwest of the capital, the report said. It's unclear if Mr. Ghosn, who is one of the most recognizable public figures in Japan, hid his appearance. Once in Osaka, the three men entered a hotel near Kansai International Airport about 8 p.m. A couple of hours later, the two men left the hotel with two large boxes. Mr. Ghosn was not in sight, the report said. They boarded a corporate jet with the boxes and flew to Istanbul. News reports have said that Mr. Ghosn evaded airport security measures by hiding in a box that was loaded on the plane. Peter Strelzik. In 1974, he met Peter Strelzik through family members visiting from the West, which was permitted at the time. The two men later worked together as self-employed electricians. In March 1978, Wetzel's sister-in-law, who had left East Germany in 1958, returned for a visit and brought a magazine with an article about the International Balloon Fiesta in Albuquerque, New Mexico. When he saw photos of hot air balloons floating in the air, he thought, this can't be that difficult. He immediately told Strelzik about the idea, and they decided that a hot air balloon would be the way to leave East Germany with their wives and children. But making a hot air balloon that could carry 8 people to West Germany wasn't easy. For Wetzel and Strelzik, building a balloon was a matter of trial and error. I looked at the pictures and kind of estimated how big the balloon was and how big the people in the picture were, Wetzel said. He made mental calculations, ultimately settling on 1,800 cubic meters. That's 63,566 cubic feet. The two men bought reams of material, largely fabric, used to line leather because it was available in large quantities. They initially stored the fabric in Wetzel's house, cutting and sewing in his bedroom on the second floor. As they progressed, the balloon became too heavy to carry upstairs, so they moved to the basement of Strelzyk's home. Ivo Zdarsky. To escape the wrath of the Iron Curtain during the 80s, Ivo Starsky took things into his own hands. He built his own aircraft, flew into Austria where he was granted asylum, and eventually decided to pursue a career in the propeller business. After being denied an exit visa, Starsky decided to take matters into his own hands and build his own plane, a hang glider with an engine from a car. In August of 1984, he set off at 3 a.m. and made his escape to Vienna, where he requested political asylum. Starsky was able to sell his plane to a German museum that housed escape vehicles. Afterwards, he moved to Los Angeles, where he started his own company called Ivoprop, which produced propellers of his own design. In 1997, Starsky decided to move somewhere close to a runway where he could develop his design for an aircraft that could function as both helicopter and airplane. He came across 400 acres in the Utah desert and purchased it for just $99,000. Today, Starsky makes his home in a steel airplane hangar more than 25 miles from the nearest resident and 160 miles from the nearest grocer. Reason being, the hangar has space to accommodate his big ideas. Matthias Rust. Matthias Rust, born June 1st, 1968, is a German aviator known for his illegal landing near Red Square in Moscow on May 28, 1987. An amateur pilot, the teenager flew from Helsinki, Finland, to Moscow, being tracked several times by Soviet air defense and interceptors. The Soviet fighters never received permission to shoot him down, and several times his aeroplane was mistaken for a friendly aircraft. He landed on Bolshoi Moskvoretsky Bridge, next to Red Square near the Kremlin in the capital of the Soviet Union. Rust's flight through a supposedly impenetrable air defense system had great effect on the Soviet military and led to the dismissal of many senior officers, including Minister of Defense Marshal of the Soviet Union Sergei Sokolov and the Commander-in-Chief of the Soviet Air Defense Forces, former World War II fighter ace pilot Chief Marshal Alexander Koldenov. The incident aided Mikhail Gorbachev in the implementation of his reforms by allowing him to dismiss numerous military officials opposed to his policies. Rust was sentenced to 4 years in prison for violation of border crossing and air traffic regulations and provoking an emergency situation upon his landing. He was officially pardoned by the chairman of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet, Andrei Gromyko, and released after 14 months in prison.